Greetings and welcome to ValueU. I'm Zaladrith and I'll be your instructor for today. Today's class is Macro 101, Map Control. Map control is a vague term, but generally implies the ability to know when enemies pass through an area. It often also implies the ability for you to threaten or kill any enemies that pass through as well, but not necessarily. For example, utility like Cypher Camera or a Killjoy Turret can hold map control for your team, but they can't do much in protecting that map control from being taken away. If it helps, you can imagine that all areas on your minimap that your team controls is painted blue, representing all areas of the map that enemies cannot possibly be. You paint more areas blue as you gain territory, and the color fades away in areas that you don't have information on. In order to win, the goal for the attackers is to take enough map control on a site to safely plant, and then defend map control around the spike for long enough that it can go off. Defenders either have to contest map control around the sites for long enough that attackers cannot plant, or take enough map control where the spike is planted to defuse it. When the round starts, the base gates indicate how much map control attackers and defenders start with. They also indicate a set of choke points that you can hold to guarantee that enemies haven't slipped into your side of the map. We'll call the combination of all possible borders of your map control the surface area of your map control. On most maps, it seems like about 4 defenders can reasonably guard the entire surface area of your map control. However, as defenders are picked off and map control gets surrendered, the surface area of your remaining map control will often grow since there are many more places that enemies can be. Note that this is why a defender's life is considered worth more than an attacker's life in the early phases of a round. While the number of sites attackers can attack doesn't change, the amount of unguarded paths increases as the number of defenders decreases, giving defenders less advance warning as to which site is going to be targeted. In this example on Pearl, the 4 choke points leading to our side of the map are covered: A main, Art, Wood Doors, and B long. Since we won pistol round though, my team decides to stack A and then surrender some map control in B link in order to double up B long, rather than playing a predictable static defense. This is probably because the enemies on save will likely be ill-equipped to fight long-range battles in B link or B long. I start the round by jump spotting mid, which is relatively low risk, but lets me know that enemies at least can't push Art silently for a decent amount of time, though they can still sneak through the unguarded wood doors. Since we hear enemies A main, I rotate to help defend it for 2 reasons. One is that I want to help my teammates as much as possible, since a 3v5 with defender's advantage and better guns isn't that bad. And I don't want to let the enemies get my teammates' guns for free, but all I can do from here is lob an eye and rotate as fast as possible. 2 is that since we aren't watching B link, the surface area of our map control will soon become too large to manage. I can't defend both Art and the spawn connector very easily at the same time, so I surrender map control and Art to simplify our map control's surface area, while also letting KJ's turret watch this entryway instead. This is probably the same reason why my teammates decide to push B long together as well. If they stayed out in the open on B site, they'd have to watch B long, B link, and our own spawn's heaven and tunnel entrances, but if they push forward, then as long as they don't go too slowly, enemies not only can't catch up to them without making sound, but they're also unlikely to push past B site before planting anyways, further simplifying the borders of my team's map control. While we surrender space in some areas, we trade it for concentrating stronger map control in other areas, making it much harder for enemies to kill us and retrieve our superior guns. Jet and I have both taken a few risks at this point, but once I reach this location, I now face an interesting situation where we don't have map control in front of me, but we also don't have map control in Art. Pushing forward is foolish because I would have no advantage at all, but falling back feels dangerous too, since I'd have to worry about being exposed to main and Art if they decide to execute at the moment I'm crossing sight towards my team. So, while it might not be the best idea, I decide to wait for my Reyna and Viper to finish clearing all of main, while staying close enough to help them if any enemy was hanging back in the area near my snare. Now that main is clear, we've established a much simpler area of map control, and we even have the spike inside of it. There are now only 4 borders to the whole area: Secret, Flowers, Art, and main. KJ's turret is watching Secret, Jet is watching Flowers, KJ is watching Art, and soon Viper and I will watch main. We now start to consolidate our borders. Here, I'll soon be doubling up with Viper to watch main, KJ doubles up with Jet Flowers, and Reyna picks up Art instead. An interesting thing to note is that as soon as the final enemy is spotted, since we now know where every player on their team is, we instantly have map control over the entire rest of the map. So me, Viper, and Reyna are free to knife run and reposition anywhere we want, knowing that she's Flowers and has to grab the spike in A main and plant it in the next 50 seconds. But instead the round ends before we can play out our map control or throw it all away by giving our enemy free 1v1s. So, why do people fight over map control anyway? The short answer is that info on where the enemy is and isn't confers many benefits. For instance, one of these benefits is knowing all possible directions that enemies might enter from. This lets you use crosshair placement to defend against just one entrance, while using the concept of shield and sword to defend yourself against other entrances. A second benefit is that it allows your team to rotate quickly and safely. Usually, knife running is very dangerous since drawing your gun takes so long relative to how long it takes to die, but guaranteeing that enemies can't be around you makes it completely safe. Third, map control gives special advantages to the team maintaining it in areas near the sites. If defenders maintain control of those spaces, attackers will have to reveal their intentions earlier than when they actually want to take the site, buying more time for additional defenders to rotate. On the flip side, if attackers can claim map control in spots very close to a site before telegraphing which site it is that they're going to hit, defenders won't have much time to set up any utility for defense or rotate their team over. And fourth, map control also defines the territory in which you have defenders' advantage, which basically means that you get to choose the range and angle of engagement, while aggressors don't have information on where you might be. But that's a topic for another class. In summary, map control is the area of the map that you know are free of enemies. Defenders' lives are worth more than attackers' lives in the early phases of a round. Map control can be surrendered to make its surface area easier to manage, and map control is important because it lets you know where enemies can or can't be, allowing your team to know the entrances that enemies can come from, rotate more quickly, make a site slower or faster to take, and receive defenders' advantage. That's all for today's lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the lecturer or the TAs in the comments below. Thanks for attending, and we hope you enjoy your stay here at ValoU.